With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin. A very interesting reunion is going on in the town of Barnstable this weekend. It is the Coast Guard Lightship Sailors Association returning to Hyannis for their annual reunion. Joining me now is the Lightship Sailors Association President, Larry Ryan. Larry, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Sarah.
So tell me a little bit about the Lightship Sailors Association.
We were formed in 1999, and we have right now about 300 members, counting our ladies and the auxiliary. We were formed originally as a fraternal organization sharing our past history on lightship duty, and it's evolved now into a history preservation organization. That's our goal right now, is our mission is to preserve our lightship sailor history. I've been the president since '04. We've made some major progress, and we're still working on it. We operate with a board of directors. We have all but one is a lightship sailor. We have a lady who was elected yesterday as our secretary. So we're excited to be here. We enjoyed this. We enjoyed the Cape, and they treat us very well here.
Well, Larry, tell me a little bit about a lightship. What is a Coast Guard lightship?
A lightship is no longer in service. They took the last one out in 1983. It is nothing more than a floating lighthouse. So it goes out and anchors to mark an obstruction or a shoals or whatever it might be, or an entrance to a bay or harbor. And the crew then goes out on a rotation basis. They stay out for at least 2 weeks, and they're relieved for a week. Some stations go 3 weeks and 2 off.
Now, for how long have there not been lightships?
Since 1983 was the last one.
1983 was the last one. Now, tell me a little bit about your experience being on a lightship. What was your duty? What did you do?
I was an engineer in the engine room. I went on first on the Overfalls, Delaware lightship, marking the entrance into Philadelphia. I was on that for just a few months, and then the Coast Guard transferred the lightship to California. So I got to be one that rode it around through the canal into California. And then I finished up a year on board, and then I was transferred from there onto a lighthouse, and that ended my first enlistment.
Great. So you mentioned historic preservation is a big thing, especially when it comes to these beautiful historic lightships.
Yeah.
What are you hoping? Are you hoping to have floating museums? Are you hoping for them to be preserved so people can come and look and enjoy the history of lightships?
Is this my opportunity to ask for a big donation from a wealthy individuals? Yes, we would like to have that very much. It's not likely. But what we do have, we want to preserve our lightship sailor history, because there is no other memorial recognition for what we did as lightship sailors. That's our major focus. It's reasonable in our budget range, in our financial range, to do that. It is right now. It is not feasible to take care of a lightship.
Right. Well, Larry, I certainly hope, I wish you well in your endeavors to preserve the sailor's history and also to preserve these historic boats. And thank you for joining us today, and welcome to Cape Cod.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much. Now I welcome Rick and Deb Dash. They are also members of the Coast Guard Lightship Sailors Association. Rick, why don't we start with you? Tell me a little bit about your affiliation with this association.
Well, I served on the Boston, which is now the Overfalls in Lewis, Delaware. I was from 1965 to 66. And I was transferred off and went other places. But I spent about 14 months on board the vessel.
So what was it like for you aboard the lightship?
Well, as I said, I was very young. I turned 21 on the ship, and it was different. The only real major storm we had, I guess it was February of '66, we had a nor'easter. And I went up to the bridge and asked the bridge watch, how big are these waves? And he said, I've been logging mountainous seas for 3 days, and mountainous seas are 55 foot and higher.
Oh, my.
So, and the other one, that was a little story I used to tell the people down in Lewis. There was a seagull on the front deck, on the bow, and it wouldn't take off. And the bosun mate came up to us and said, how long has that seagull been there? I said, about 15, 20 minutes. It's seasick. And we said, oh, come on, seagulls don't get seasick. He walked up to it. It didn't fly away. He stamped his foot on the deck and still wouldn't fly away. Oh, no. So he picked it up and threw it up in the air, and it was fine. But it was a seasick seagull.
That's a very unusual thing to see for sure.
Amen. But I enjoyed it. We had one night we were catching herring. The whole sea was silver. It was about 2 in the morning, and all they were doing was throwing rods in the water, pulling it out, and the cook made meal with the herring the next day.
Excellent. So, Deb, tell me a little bit about your involvement.
Well, I joined the association when my husband did. We found his lightship online and discovered it was relatively close to us in Lewis, Delaware. We're from Pennsylvania. And we went down to visit it and learned about the LSA, got involved, and we're still involved. I was elected last night to the position of secretary on the board of directors for the Lightship Sailors Association, and I'm looking forward to helping preserve the history of the Lightship Sailors, because once these guys are gone, so is that history, unless we preserve it.
Absolutely. So what is your next step in working to preserve the history of the sailors? What are you hoping to achieve in, say, the next few months?
Well, continuing to gather stories from the Lightship Sailors, their sea stories, as it were, and write those down, put those in some kind of a form that we can, keep for posterity, written, oral, on tape or whatever, and hopefully to get more interest in the Lightship Sailors Association and make the public aware of the fact that this is a piece of history and an important part of history.
Absolutely. And your thoughts on that?
Basically about the same thing, because as I said, I served on it, and a lot of fellows that are out there, some people don't want to be involved, some people just didn't like lightship duty, so they just forgot about it. But it's part of their life and part of our lives, so we figured let's let the public know. It's a history thing, and like Deb said, once these fellows are all gone, that's it for us,
Well, thank you very much, Rick and Deb. It's been lovely talking with you, and definitely we'll keep an eye on it as you work to preserve the history of these sailors.
Well, thank you.
Sarah.
Thank you so much. And now I welcome Ed Juradic, also a member of the Coast Guard Lightship Sailors Association. Ed, tell me a little bit about your history on lightships.
I was aboard the Buzzards Bay light vessel, 57 to 59. We decommissioned in 59. It was built in 1907 when we decommissioned it. In fact, I was the OD, and they were chipping out the paint in the chain locker, and one of the fellows put a hammer right through the bottom of the vessel. So
Definitely time to...
We were tied up in Boston, though. The Buzzard Station is off of the end of Cuttyhunk Island, the entrance to Buzzards Bay. 2 miles from us was the Vineyard Sound lightship, which sunk in 1944, a hurricane with all hands. Go ahead.
No, I was going to just ask, tell me one of your most favorite memories, a memorable moment aboard a lightship.
Christmas of 1957, we had a violent storm. It was seas 30 feet high, and we were running slow ahead into the seas to maintain station. And it was kind of a little hairy. Everyone was seasick. And that was about the worst I've had, on a lightship.
Surely. How about fun times? How about humorous stories that you remember from your time aboard the lightship?
Humorous stories. We showed the movie The Beast from 20,000 Leagues Beneath the Sea. And one evening, and the next day, my friend Denny Cushing and I had swim call, and we got seaweed. And we dressed Denny up in a asbestos fire suit and put seaweed over him and put a chain around him, and we put him on top the Radio Shack. And we had a new fellow on board, and he started banging around on top of the Radio Shack, and the man on watch looked up, and he said, "Oh my God," he shut the door, got on a sound-powered phone, and he said, "That beast is on our ship." And he told his CO he was going to call for help. So he convinced him that it was just Denny. So
Ed, why is it important for you to come to these reunions? What do you like
I
best
think
about
they
the reunions?
covered it. Try to preserve our heritage, and it's very enjoyable. It's a great bunch of guys. I found it. Coast Guard sailors are fantastic. The only thing is, if you tell a sea story, the second guy tells a better one.
Well, that's what we like, though. We like to hear those sea stories. Well, Ed, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.